Lawmakers are revisiting the issue of whole milk in schools. The Senate Ag Committee heard from dairy groups and school leaders in yesterday's hearing focused on the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act. And U.S. Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas joins us now with an update. Senator, we sure do appreciate your time today. We know you're busy. You participated in yesterday's hearing. What were some of the highlights?
Well, Tammy, I just want to quickly share my story. Growing up, my grandfather stopped by our house twice a week with whole milk from our farm. My mom never opened a package. We had a generation of healthy kids. But today, America has 40% of our children are obese. We have a generation of children now that have not ever drank much milk. And anyone even born in this century now has not been drinking milk. They're going to have osteoporosis, osteopenia at a decade sooner than previous generations. So when they took whole milk out of the school, I think it was about 2012, kids stopped drinking milk. My goodness, we had milk for breakfast, for lunch, for supper, whole milk. Whole milk helps absorb vitamins A, D, E, and K. It's very important. There's good fats in milk. It helps you. It helps your brain health. It also it has satiety, decreases your satiety, your appetite as well. Lots of good things about whole milk, and I think our witnesses put an exclamation mark behind every one of those things I just talked about.
Absolutely. The nutritional drink, absolutely, that comes from cows, and we do want that back in our schools. So let's talk about that hearing and any of the hurdles that you guys are dealing with in getting whole milk back in school.
Well, it's hard to imagine, but there's some groups out there that are still fighting against whole milk. Here we have this huge obesity rate going on, and they want to somehow connect whole milk to that obesity problem. Again, I just have to emphasize that there's good milk out there, but there's and just like I think about whole foods, the big movement with my Maha moms is whole foods. I think whole milk is equally the same. That rather than breaking it down in its part, God made it whole. Let's drink it that way. I think it's much healthier for you, and the benefits outweigh any potential risk. The problem with our diets today is about 70% of our calories come from opening a package one way or another. So that's what we need to change as far as getting the obesity levels down in our nation. Whole milk's not the problem. Whole milk is part of the solution.
Right. Oh, you make some very good points there. If you don't mind, let's switch gears just a little bit, because this is a big day that could impact agriculture. The president's tariffs plan. Now, his plan is set to go into effect this afternoon, and we've heard some differing opinions on the provisions, which many say could cause some growing pains for the ag economy. What's your take?
So today is Liberation Day, and I think about, milk products. Right now, Canada has a 200% tariff on cheese and butter going into their country. I just want to remind all your listeners what happened in Trump 45, that there was a tariff war, a trade war with China. He gave the farmers $28 billion from that tariff money. Just last week, President Trump released $10 billion of emergency economic aid for our farmers because of high input costs and low commodity prices. So I think our farmers trust President Trump. And just like, again, in Trump 45, he used those tariffs as levers to negotiate really good trade deals with Japan, with South Korea, USMCA, and China Phase 1. And we're still benefiting from those trade agreements. I think the bright spot in agriculture in Kansas anyway is, of course, the cattle and beef industry. A lot of that beef is going overseas to South Korea, to Japan, and China as well. So I think we have to give the president a little bit of leeway. And certainly, last point I would make is that this is a national security issue, that we want to stop the fentanyl flowing into this country, and the president is using these tariffs as levers on Mexico, Canada, and China to say, stop making fentanyl, stop bringing it into our country.
Right, and making that trade fair. So what are your final thoughts for our ag community, our farmers and ranchers, who are definitely dealing, though, with some uncertainty right now as we move forward?
Yeah, I think that every time I talk to the president, he asks me, how are my farmers and ranchers doing? And I say, well, watch, and I tell them, we're struggling. He says, well, tell them I love them, that I'll take care of them, that he realizes 90% of rural America voted for President Trump. On the other hand, though, farmers and ranchers have been complaining to me, well, since I was a boy, that there's unfair trade practices. Again, European Union, a 50% tariff on most agricultural products. India, 50 to 100%. They use non-tariff barriers as well. And those farmers and ranchers said, we want free and reciprocal trade agreements. We have a president now who's out here fighting for long-term solutions for our farmers and ranchers, not just the short-term gain. So I understand, I have empathy sympathy. There's going to be some short-term pain. We are the tip of the spear. The president knows that, and he's going to do everything he can to make it right with his farmers and ranchers. So we appreciate them hanging in there with us. We're the patriots. We are the modern-day patriots of our nation, our republic. We are the backbone of this country. We give our country values, that agriculture is a way of life, so much more. So the president gets that. Give us a little bit of grace, and we'll make it right.
We can navigate this time. That's U.S. Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas. We sure do appreciate your time today.